that's why salt need to be stationed in your rotation with real talking.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Salt the Streets podcast, the most pro-America, anti-government show you know. The show where we discuss news, government, and culture and how it pertains to you, the individual, and your natural rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I am, of course, that big bird-looking fellow they call Colin, and I am, of course, joined by my co-host, brother-in-arms, the Nero of Neoprene, the original Salt of the Streets himself. I forgot the other title I was going to give you. Shout out Dave Z. Donovan Phillips, thanks for joining, buddy.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Was it Mr. Affable or no? I forget.
It was.
What was it? It was so good.
Appalled.
A man appalled.
A man
That's
appalled.
right.
Yeah.
What are you even saying right now? So, yes, this is 145. We're back in studio. Very exciting. We got a lot of exciting things to talk about today. Shout out Joseph in the chat. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, episode 145, Saturday, April 8th, 12:04 p.m.
Boom.
Of course, 2023. We're out here, Salt of the Streets. I want to thank everyone, of course, Joseph, again, for being here. Very beginning. We have all kinds of fantastic stuff going on today. Part one, of course, some local stuff we have, which also mirrors national stories. God, this looks good today. Looks fantastic. I'm here for it. You did a fantastic job.
Hey, look at that. Look at that.
Mirrors some national. We have our own state assault weapons ban that's looking like it's coming down.
Oh, they ruined your beer, Joseph.
Oh.
Boo.
We will obviously end up talking about that. I don't know if you end up in Colin's live stream yesterday. I know that he talked about some Dylan Mulvaney, some Bud Light stuff.
Yeah.
Yesterday we'll talk a little bit more. Hello, hi honey, about some Dylan Mulvaney, a little bit about homelessness, some stuff like that, and
Yeah, you sent me that podcast this morning. I listened
Yes.
to it, and I was just sitting there getting steamed about it. I was like, yeah, they got their shit together over there.
Yes, yeah, it's fantastic. Part two, we have some national stories talking Trump, obviously, Donald Trump indictment. We're going to be talking about the Nashville shooting, not necessarily so much the shooting itself, but the things that have come from that. The assault weapons ban, some bullshit gun control arguments, some things like that go into it, and then the Restrict Act, obviously, that in regards to like a TikTok ban, something like that. Kevin Garcia, it wouldn't let me comment for some reason. I had to restart the YouTube app. That's weird. That is weird.
They're fucking coming at you, Kevin.
That is true. In part three, we're going to be talking about Ukraine. There's a lot of things that are going on there.
All the things.
Yeah. And then we have something else in part three, too, right?
Yeah, Russia, China.
Yeah. We got all kinds of stuff.
It's the fall of the American empire is what I call it.
It's
That's what I call it.
going to be dark. And then, of course, in the grab bag part four, we're going to bring it back.
We're gonna
to bring
lift
it
up
back
the spirits.
It's going to be good. It's going to be happy.
There's some
We have-
wild shit in this one, buddy. I can't wait for everybody to see.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited. We haven't been in studio in over a month.
Yeah.
So it feels fantastic to be
I mean,
here.
I live here, but that's okay.
You have been in studio. We've not been in studio together in
Indeed.
over a month. I
It
feel
has missed.
fantastic.
Your presence here has been missed.
Yes, we did our pieces last month. If you are on the Patreon, if you are not, go there, subscribe. Of course, we have our Instagram, our YouTube, everything at Salt of the Streets. We also have our own personal social media. I am at Salt of the Street on Twitter and at alpaca_Donovan on Instagram. And Colin is at Big Bird Offie on both of those things. You can find all of this at saltofthestreets.com. The first segment is brought to you by, she's here, Lexi Kyle on Twitch. So you can go there. She's streaming all the time. She's doing the things. It's fantastic.
That's right. Roll the ad.
There it is.
Thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the den. By the way, I'm Lexi. Fucking adorable. It's a turtle with a tree in there. Aruba, Jamaica. Oh, I wanna take ya. Oh my god. I'm so sorry. Tamales. Tamales are Mexican. I'm Ecuadorian. Come on, back in. I'm so sorry.
Beepity boppity boop. Flippity floppity floop. Bermudas, Bahamas. No wait, come pretty mama. Eat a bitch. Wee wee wee. Right? That's the Kung Fu Hustle?
I don't think so.
Okay. Just erase and delete everything I had just say.
I like my Star Wars. I like my stuff. I'm a geek. I am Lexi. I am a variety streamer and also a flight attendant. So I come and I go and I come again and I go. When I'm here, you'll see me streaming.
And we're back.
Well, there you go. Okay. So let me ask you this, right? We'll just jump right into it. With that, Let me ask you this. So
All the drops today.
yeah, we'll get. You said you had like a couple for me, and so we'll get through this. So I was watching. We were doing the stuff for The Last of Us, and so I was watching the gameplay for the second game because I don't have time to play it, but I have all that time in the world to
watch it
at work to
today.
watch it. So I watched it, right? And
How do you feel about it?
it was fine. The game looks super fun, right? The game looks like it's absolutely a good ass time. It also looks so crazy ass hard. So I think it
Yeah.
would take me way longer than 15 hours or whatever it took me to watch it. Way longer than that.
Yeah,
to
I
beat
think it took Carolina longer to play the second one.
Yeah, it would take me a really long time. So it looks like it's a lot of fun. There's definitely a bunch of
There's stuff.
there's wokey stuff in it, and it's whatever, right? But part of it is based around like Ellie being a lesbian. That some people are really upset about it in the game itself. And so my question was, do you think post-apocalypse? Because this is this is deep, right? This game is like 30 years now, something like that. Because it was 20 years in the first one, and then I think it's 5 more, so it's 25 years, right? So we've been post-apocalypse 25 years. That's a long time.
We deep in it.
Yes. Do you think that post-apocalypse people still cling to? Let me find exactly how I worded it because I jumped right into it. That people cling to the societal and social norms that they had during pre-apocalypse, or do you think that they're largely cast aside? Because I find it weird that people were still upset about her being a lesbian 25 years after zombies are eating other people. Like, you gotta imagine, even the starkest homosexual, that's whatever. I mean, even if you're super religious, still 25 years, you still believe in God, all that stuff. Are you still really gonna be that upset about what other people are doing? Are you really gonna care about that type of stuff 25 years after human beings are eating other human beings?
So there's two answers to this. One is a utilitarian answer, which is very cut and dry, and it's you care about it because that means less people are being born, right?
Okay.
But in all reality, no, I think it's much more especially like a 25-year on post-apocalyptic world. No, it's about companionship and compatibility and just being around people that you can vibe with and care about and all that good stuff. I don't think any of the societal presuppositions for how relationship structures would work, I don't think those hold together 25 years into the apocalypse. I think it's just kind of like, no, dude, we ride together, we die together. This is what we're doing. We're trying not to get eaten by zombies.
Yes.
And whatever happens, happens. I got no issues with it whatsoever.
Right. Especially because a lot of that stuff I feel like is a moral standpoint from a lot of times that people are basing off of what are modern day societal norms. And if the society doesn't exist anymore, and so every different town you go to is different, then generalized societal norms don't even exist anymore. So how do you even base them morally off of something larger than that, unless it's just depending on whatever town you're in.
Yeah, I think a lot of that stuff goes right out the fucking window about 6 months into the game.
Yeah.
And then it's like, no, we're just gonna get to it. We do things the way we want in this little compound, and you do things the way you want in your compound. And,
Right.
But everybody's like post-apocalyptic societal makeup is a little different depending on the situation.
Yeah.
I think for Last of Us in particular, it's kind of generalized post-apocalyptic rules. I think it works pretty well the way they do it, at least in the games. So no, I think it's kind of a weird thing that we're putting our current contemporary morals onto into like a make-believe world.
Right.
What are we doing here? Come on.
What
We're
are we talking about?
talking about a place where fucking cordyceps mushrooms have like eaten into people's brains and made them zombies. All right, no, you just do whatever you fucking want. Just make it coherent and put it together. Something they didn't do in the TV show, but that's okay. It's okay. It's okay. We didn't even talk about the finale because of all the plague that was
Right.
going around, but underwhelming.
Turned out not good. Yeah.
I think that one scene where where Joel was going through the makeshift hospital, blowing everybody away. I feel like that was a pretty like shot by shot remake from what I saw, and it was pretty all right. It was a pretty cool little scene of him just blasting all these people to go get his girl out.
Well, and you can only make that part of the show so long because it's just gameplay. It's just you clearing a hospital, and
Yeah.
so you can only really make that so long.
Yeah.
But
Weird thing was like the length of the finale was like one of the shortest episodes.
Yes.
Which I got to tell you, I got a real issue with this new, 'cause the new season Mandalorian's doing this too.
Okay.
Not having like standard length episodes. Some of the episodes are 35 minutes, some of them are 45 minutes, some of them are an hour and 5 minutes. What are we doing here?
Whatever they want.
What are we doing here? Just come on, spread it out a little bit more.
is
Make
weird.
everything 45. What
That
are we
is
doing?
weird.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that, but it's strange in the contemporary world of modern TV shows to have a finale be the shortest episode of the season. But hey, whatever, dude.
Fucking fools.
There'll be a season 2, so let's go.
Yeah.
Did you see the controversy? While we're just randomly on the topic about the pay gap, the pay disparity between the two main stars of the show.
No.
Oh yeah,
Between Pedro Pascal
yeah,
and
he
Bella
got
Ramsey.
yeah. Pedro Pascal got paid something like $100,000 an episode, or it might have been more. I think I have a tweet in the grab bag. Maybe we'll pull that up. But yeah, he got hundreds of thousands per episode, and Bella Ramsey got like 70,000 per episode. And people were just pearl clutching.
He's older and has been acting longer, right?
Shh, no, it doesn't matter. Okay, she's a part of an oppressed class, so she's getting.
Oh, because she's a
there's
they, them.
She's a they. Well, she's a woman, so
And,
the women pay gap. So
And they, them. She doesn't conform to. You didn't know that?
I did know that
Pretty
actually.
sure
Yeah,
she's
yeah,
non-binary.
yeah. That's right. That's right.
So
Do we even know the pay gap between men, women, and like others? Because for a while there, we were talking about what was like
More.
76
It has
cents
to
on the
be
dollar,
more.
and it's
yeah, whatever it is, it needs to be more.
we need to go $1.50.
Whatever, whatever is missing from women, you said it's
Just
like
front-load it,
67.
yeah.
Exactly. Front loaded to the they thems. To anybody who's non-binary, they get what the women don't get, all the dollar.
Yes. Joseph says the moral of any post-apocalyptic reality is people will have to be tribal.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. I think that was most excellently displayed in Walking Dead. Everybody had like little tribes rolling around. It was always little gangs.
And
when,
very different.
yeah, when you came across each one, it was very, very different and acted different, had different sets of rules and
Yeah.
all that stuff. So fun times. So I have two. Let me ask you this, right? The first
Okay.
one is kind of a more generalized one, and the other one will
Talk
be.
more about this later, boys.
That's right. And my second one will come in right before we talk about guns because it is directly pertaining to two-way.
Okay.
The first question I had is, when you think about it in today's pop culture world, is there anybody in particular you think stands as an excellent avatar for spreading the message of liberty and freedom in the pop culture? Because we have on the back end, I mean, every major Hollywood star is out there spouting leftist propaganda. Do we have anybody in the popularized mainstream culture that is sticking up for our values? It's a tough one.
I would have to really think about that.
And that's a problem
yeah, no, I would have to really think about that.
because it's up to like internet personalities right now. In my mind, they're the only
Post
people.
Malone.
Post Malone,
Yeah,
yeah, he's pretty good at it.
Post Malone. Post Malone's super based.
Yo, that fucking picture of him when he was with what was he with Grand Thumb?
Yeah.
yeah, that was legit.
Yeah,
Chris Pratt.
Yeah,
There you go.
Yeah. Chris Pratt.
He's doing big things.
Yeah.
But
And
is it just me
and
or-
he doesn't give a shit? You know?
No.
Chris Pratt doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, he's not really. I would say this.
He's just also very religious.
Yeah,
you know?
in my experience,
And that's not a bad thing. I just mean that's in addition to.
yeah, because they can tend to go together. If the
Right.
two are the one and the same, then that usually leads. But my major observation about this is whether or not we have people like that or not. They don't proselytize like the leftist propagandists do.
No.
And I think that, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think at this point it's probably a bad thing because it's hard to tell. You have to kind of know more about these people. They're not saying these things on the stage at award shows, and if they're even getting invited to award shows, because they're not usually going to win anyways if they go to those. But
Right.
it always seems to be kind of in the background. And I forget exactly where this question came this week, what inspired this, but it got me thinking about it. I'm like, I don't know all the people that I know that are really outspoken about these things. I mean, the closest I can come would be like a mainstream comedian like Dave Smith. But that's about it. And he's
Yeah.
still kind of niche, you know. He's like an alt comic.
And
So-
to add to what you're saying about the award shows and stuff like that, if they do get called to do that, because Chris Pratt is still very mainstream, he still does a lot of stuff, and Post Malone still does performances and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not asked there because of their ideology,
Mm-hmm.
where so many other leftist stars and leftist pop culture stars are.
Yeah.
They are put in that center, in the limelight, because of that immutable quality, because of whatever that thing is, that intersectional portion that they take up.
Yep.
That's why they're there. That's why they're being elevated.
Yeah.
But that's not why Chris Pratt is being elevated. They are not asking him. Most Hollywood things are not asking him to come and talk about Jesus, even his religion,
No.
let alone his other views about the government or politics or anything like that. You know,
Don't talk about that, Chris.
Yes,
Otherwise,
yeah.
you don't have a your next Guardian of the Galaxy Volume 4 will not be starring you.
And on that spectrum, his religion is probably the most acceptable thing to talk about in Hollywood, because if we, started talking about any of that other shit, they'd be like, no, you're a domestic terrorist. We can't have this type of stuff here,
Yeah. I mean,
which-
you're out on a farm. You're trying to
Right.
live a relatively self-sustaining lifestyle by like farming and shit. I'm like,
think-
that's basically domestic
I
terrorism.
think the only reason people aren't taking pictures and videos of Post Malone all kitted up and saying he's a terrorist is because he's also a rapper. So they're like, oh, he's out there with guns. He's a rapper. That's what they do. That's
Yeah.
what they're going to be doing. And that's not. I think that's just the label that people are willing to give him. I don't think he's like hiding behind that or anything.
I doubt it.
No, he has a fucking.
He doesn't strike me as a guy that's going to be like
I saw
withholding stuff like that.
a video of him that he had a custom technical build, a truck with a mounted machine gun in the back
Yes,
of it.
I
He
saw.
had
It was a
one
little Yoda,
built.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
He
yeah.
had one built.
It was dope
It's
as shit.
That's the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Exactly.
So,
I want one.
yeah.
Plus the 50 cal to go with it. That
Yeah.
would be pretty sweet too.
So shout out to Chris Pratt and Post Malone for being based.
There you go. There you go.
That's really funny.
I'm excited to. I'm actually excited for Guardians 3 coming out. I rewatched the Guardian of the Galaxy movies
I
recently.
remember you saying
they're,
that.
they're pretty fire.
I'm
the first
out
one
on-
especially.
I'm out on all these superhero movies
Mm-hmm.
now. It's too much for me.
I saw a commercial for one the other day on fucking scrolling through Twitter, and it didn't. I don't know if it's like affiliated with any of the major things, but it's called like Beetle Man. Have you even heard of this? Blue Beetle?
Blue Beetle.
Yeah.
That's a DC one.
Oh, it is
I
DC.
do know Blue Beetle.
So it's gonna crash. It's gonna nosedive like everything else DC tries to
and
make
I
in a movie.
guess the director just got in trouble because he tweeted something about. I don't want to I'm pretty sure he tweeted something about someone assassinating Donald Trump, and then he deleted the tweet.
Oops.
But obviously it's the internet, so people already saw it. and
Screenshot.
I'm pretty sure that's what happened. I'm sure you can Google it.
Probably.
But
But yeah, I saw that. I don't know much about DC, and I was like, "What the
Yeah.
fuck?" It looks like a DC Spider-Man is what it looks like.
he just wants to be left alone. Live and let live will always be difficult because eventually you have to deal with people who want to make you conform to their ideological will. 100%. That's
Amen.
absolutely true.
And I think that might be a good segue to talk about some guns.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to.
Yeah, it's a pretty base thing. I mean, we've seen the national discussions, especially after Nashville,
Which we'll talk about in part 2 a little bit more.
Yeah, for calls for an assault weapons ban, and we have one that's looking like it's actually going to happen here. They've been trying for several years now. I'm going to say probably 5 years. They've been going for it. Certainly,
Yeah.
however long Bob Ferguson has been the Attorney General, he's been pushing for it because this is his thing.
It's his baby.
But this one has cleared the
Senate.
committee, and it's gone. I think it's just waiting to go to the floor.
Yes,
in the
which
Senate, so-
yeah, I saw a video. There's a guy, I can't remember his name. He always has WK on his jacket, and he does like these little videos standing by a stream in Issaquah somewhere.
Great.
but he did the announcement yesterday, kind of updating that, and he had said essentially that it's going to go to the floor, get voted on. There's no anticipation of it not passing. They have all the votes they need for it to pass, and then it'll go to the governor's desk, in which case it could be signed as early as like in the next couple days.
Because it's already passed the House.
It's got to go back to the House, I guess.
Okay.
But the idea is there's another bill that's coming along too, and so he's probably going to wait. Inslee's probably going to wait for, I think he said till about like the 17th. So another week or so. So both bills will come up, and then they'll do a big thing about it and sign both bills at the same time. But yeah, it looks like, and within the next 2 weeks, probably there will be some form of a ridiculous assault weapons ban in this state.
Yeah, and this one has also to do with like certain parts and stuff as well. So also threaded barrels is another thing that you can't get, and like muzzle brakes is something that you won't be able to purchase anymore. There's like really odd specific items that are covered in this particular assault weapons ban.
Because a muzzle brake makes sense, right?
It's really weird stuff. The magazines are covered in it again as well, is another part of it. So let me see. So while I'm looking for, we can talk about. So that is why I have that gun behind me. Because I'm an everyman like you guys, and I'm a dad with 2 kids.
They call them featureless rifles here in California.
There you go.
Featureless. I mean, that's aptly named. If it's a bare bones naked ass gun, it is definitely featureless.
Yes. There it is. Pew Pew Tactical. That's what it was. I can send
Pew
you
pew.
Yeah. Here, I'll send you this article.
Okay.
I was just trying to find the correct one. So I was saving up to buy a pistol, and I was just kind of putting cash to the side whenever I could, because I didn't necessarily need one. Right? I've showed the other one that I had before, the Glock. I've showed that before. It's a great gun. So I didn't necessarily need one, but I wanted another one, a 9mm, and so I went to buy it. And I was talking to the guy at the gun store about, do you have any uppers? Do you have any, what you got? Do you have any other pre-built? Because I don't really want to like buy one myself right now. And
Pew Pew Tactical, I love it.
excuse me, they did. So I treated myself a little bit, and I picked up this. Oh shit, this is probably illegal as fuck, but I picked up this 12.5. This upper, right? The lower is one that I already had. So we'll just leave that
Right there. There we go.
there. The lower is one that I already had, so I just took my rifle upper off of it, and I put this new upper on there. It came with like the optic, the bull carrier group, and the charging handle, everything fantastic.
Name brand stuff too.
Oh yeah, all arrow pieces. It's very good. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah, 12.5. I like it a lot. So
It's so pretty.
and the store that I got it from, they sell cans and stuff also. So that's my next official venture.
Yee. Tax stamp time.
Yeah, unfortunately. There's
Yeah.
also like the Form 1s and stuff like that, and I just don't know how I feel about any of that. Finishing up myself, whatever. I'll do one day, but wait till after the bands come. Y'all got to learn what a Batwing grip is.
Batwing grip. Do you know? I mean, I have to rely on your
I
expertise
do
in the
not
world
know,
these days.
not by that particular term. No, I don't know what a Batwing grip is.
You
but
failed
I'll
me. You have
just-
failed me.
Yeah. So the bill names 60 other specific makes. So ARs and AKs in general, and then also 60 other specific makes and models: FN Scars, FN PS90s, HK MP5s, 50 cals, Galils, AUGs, all these things. Specific accessories like a telescoping stock, threaded barrel, muzzle brake, a pistol grip are also no-goes. So that's going to mean a vertical grip. Can't have a vertical grip anymore. That same thing
Yeah.
that I have.
We used to call them pig sticks, right?
Yeah, so this is like, it's called like a broom handle, right? Like things like that. This is the upper that I took off of that. This is obviously it's safe. We're good here because there's no lower on it. But yeah, this is what I took off there. And so this vertical grip would be not okay anymore. Can't have those things. You have to have like an angled grip or a hand stop. These are the things that you would have to have on there. But also you can't have these anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But
Oh my god.
So
So
that's nice.
stupid.
Yeah. Let's see. What else is there? Pistols, shotguns, and accessories. Semi-automatic pistols and shotguns are not outside the scope of the measure, which bans pistols using a detachable magazine and sporting one of the following accessories: threaded barrel, second hand grip, or shroud. And I don't know what a shroud is. Semi-automatic shotguns with folding, telescoping, or thumbhole stocks, grips that protrude conspicuously beneath the action. Right? This is the level of legislating that we're working with. Grips that protrude, quote, conspicuously beneath the action. This is what we're dealing with here. I would love to see a bill introduced that designated anyone who introduces an unconstitutional bill as a treasonous piece of shit.
I support this amendment.
Protruding conspicuously beneath the action, fixed magazine with more than 7 rounds, revolving cylinder or pistol grip is also prohibited. And then HB 1240 moves past just firearms and into accessories, squashing the use of conversion kits and large capacity magazines, which we already have. So, according to legislators, HB 1240 is a direct response to what they call a public health threat, pointing to the use of so-called assault weapons in recent mass shootings. Authors of the bill said removing firearms that allow assailants to fire a high volume of rounds quickly is necessary to protect its citizens. So
none of that makes sense.
that's why we're doing it
But,
here.
That's what we're doing.
It's going to be great.
We're going to save so many. I mean, if it saves just one life, right?
Yeah.
Or have we
so-
moved past that rhetoric at this point?
Because of the place that we live, it will definitely be signed if it is passed by the Senate, and then it will definitely be challenged in the courts. But I don't know how likely it is that there will be an injunction on it, because the magazine ban that we have, that again is supposed to ban us from having any magazines over 10 rounds. The pistol that I brought here with me today has a magazine in it with 15 rounds.
Grandfather.
I don't know how that works as far as carrying it, because clarification was never given to anybody. We just aren't supposed to have them, even though it's okay. We're not supposed to buy them. It's okay for us to have them. No one ever said whether or not we're allowed to carry them in the law. Of course, all gun laws are infringements. We're going to carry the 15 anyway. It's the same reason that, I have that upper on the lower that we have there. It's the same reason that we did all these things. So, I don't want to get too heavy into it yet, because we're going to talk about it more in part 2. Obviously, this is not a good thing. These are not things that should be happening. These are not meant to protect you. This is only meant to disarm you so that something else can happen in the future. This is meant so they can have more control over you, and you have less control over your life. You have less ability to defend yourself, to protect yourself, to protect your family, to protect people around you. It's not good. We were blessed, and I am hesitant to use those words, but that's what I'm going to go with this time, to have that this most recent shooting was ended quickly, and that we had police officers that were there in a very short amount of time, and they ended this in a very short amount of time. We have seen other examples where that's not the case. You cannot, and nor should you, or should you be asked to rely on the state for defense of your life. You are in charge of your life. You have charge to defend yourself and your family and the people that you love and the people around you who abdicate that responsibility. It is up to you. And I believe that everyone should do that. And I believe in you, everyone who's listening to this show. This is against your rights. This is unconstitutional at the very least, regardless of how you feel about how Colin and I view rights, or how I view rights, because I don't want to speak for you, but I know, we're on the same shit. But
We're pretty much there.
this is unconstitutional. This is a violation of your rights. These assault weapons bans. These are nonsense.
Confirm.
Do not comply with this. Continue to do what you're doing. Continue to operate.
The language is fairly clear. I mean, it's shall not be infringed. Shall not be infringed.
Keep banging.
The right of a people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. All these things sound like infringements to me.
Just keep going.
I just, but it's fine. Joe Biden's a Second Amendment supporter.
Yeah.
He's pro 2A. He's a 2A guy if you listen to him. Just really upset that there's so many deer out there sporting Kevlar. I don't know how they're getting it, but they're doing it apparently. Did we talk about the capital gains tax on the last episode?
No,
No.
I don't think so.
The Washington State has just through the Supreme Court has just made a decision that the Washington State capital gains tax does not qualify as an income tax because income tax in the state of Washington is unconstitutional according to our state constitution.
Right.
But we are now the only state in the entire union that does not recognize the capital gains tax as an income tax. We're classifying it as an excise tax, which technically doesn't count as a capital gains tax. So we here in the state of Washington make big moves. We are groundbreaking on this front. So if you are making a capital gains in the state of Washington, that counts as an income tax, or doesn't count as an income tax now, even though that is income.
That's precisely what it is.
That's precisely what it is. I would know because I've been getting hit with it for fucking years at this point. But first time in multiple years I haven't been dinged on the capital gains tax.
When we were in Oregon last weekend, the server at the bar that we went to, the Horse Brass.
The Horse Brass.
Right, that's what the bar was called. That guy said there's no sales tax in Oregon. They have state income tax.
Yes.
So that guy told me that if he works full time, 40 hours, he makes less money than if he works 20 hours and just collects as much tips as possible.
Yeah.
Because of the way that the income tax goes.
Yeah.
That he gets fucked that hard.
That's the way it goes down there, man. It's pretty rough. We used to make we had like a family vacation we take every year down in Southern Oregon, or Central Oregon, and every time we go down, we'd always drive down in the old pickup. That was the family truck, and we just load everything up and head down for like a nice week or something down there. But my parents would go to like the feed store when they were down there and load up on like horse staples because there was no sales tax, and then we'd bring that back here so we could save. You know, when you're going to go spend $1,000 on a bunch of like feed and supplements and equipment and all this stuff, I mean it saves you hundreds of dollars if you buy it without sales tax and then just bring it back. So we used to do that shit all the time.
And that's what he said. He says, so the trick is to work in Washington and to shop in Oregon.
That's right. It'll save you some money, baby.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. The things were just $13. And I was like,
Like
nice.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have to sit there and try to think, like, okay, so if it says this, how much am I really paying?
No.
And of course, everything is 99 cents. So like $6.99, $13.99.
They don't really do that shit there.
Just
It's-
13 bucks?
Yeah, it's all like flat, because they don't want to deal with 1 penny. Who wants to deal with 1 penny? No one wants to deal with 1 penny.
That's true.
So,
yeah, I bet you that's just in the places that have sales tax.
Yeah, no, things were just like 50, 25. They were rounded to even. Yeah. So you were just getting quarters back. It was really cool.
What a fucking
It
mind-blowing
was
concept.
really nice. Fuck a penny. I don't. Why are we
Exactly.
using pennies at
I
all?
got pennies over here. I don't give a
Just
shit about pennies.
Rounded to 5. I don't. What's the difference in 4 cents? Just round it to a 5.
Yeah,
A
we
5
can't
or a
nick.
0.
Yeah, let's just nuke the penny and just go with nickels.
We don't need it.
Not that real money is going to be a thing much longer, but hey,
No.
we'll talk about that later. Oh yeah, I can't wait for FedCoin to come into play. It's going to be fucking great.
So, all right, let's talk about that really quick. Let's talk about the digital currency.
Oh yeah, we'll do that.
Because I don't understand it.
Okay.
So I've heard a lot of people, especially this week, very upset about it, and I'm feeling like I'm just not understanding.
Okay.
Right, that's where I'm at now because you and I were talking about it last week, and I was like, this means nothing to me because my money is in the bank anyway. That's how everyone's money is. Like the cash that you have really is valueless because it's not based on anything. It's not based
Yes.
on gold. It's not based on whatever. It's
No.
based off of
Oil right now,
it's
which is
based off of the 0 and 1 that these people have put in the computer anyway.
Yeah.
So I just don't understand. So now I feel like I don't understand. Like
Okay.
I've got to be missing something because people are like, this is the next level of control. If it's all digital currency, then they control everything. They already, in my mind, they already are deciding how much this currency is worth. So
the major next step that's going to take place in July, right? Right now,
I gotta open my mind for this
open
one.
get your third eye open. Let's
Yes.
go. the major thing that's going to be different is right now in the financial institutions,
Okay.
aka the banks and so on and so forth.
That are collapsing.
I mean, there's that. There's, transaction they take time to clear, right?
Yes.
I swipe my debit card somewhere, I stick it in the thing, and I punch my board. I use the touch pass now because I got a fancy new card.
Yep.
That essentially they get a signal. My bank gets a signal to release the money to this other institution's bank, essentially, right? So then that takes time. They, in good faith, will send money over this way, that way, but it takes time for those transactions to clear.
Yes.
The same reason
Because
you.
it's different institutions.
Yes, like
Okay.
you have you got $100 in the bank, and you have a $500 check you want to cash.
Yep.
You can't go in and cash that right away. You can get most banks will give you the equivalent of what you already have in your account. That way they can back it up.
Right.
Like in case the check is bad.
Right.
And then it takes time for that stuff to clear, and then within a couple days you have the rest of your money, and then you can withdraw it, so on and so forth. But in July, the Federal Reserve is rolling out a new system called FedNow, which is essentially
This is confirmed now. This is what their intent, or
this is this is actually from the federalreserve.gov.
Okay.
So this is actually happening.
I love when they do this.
Yeah, I don't. It's pretty terrible.
I just mean I love when they don't lie about shit. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
when
yeah.
They're like,
They're like,
"No,
no,
I
we're
just-
going to do this
yeah,
because
this is what
we're
we're doing."
doing. Let's see. Kevin says CBDC, the central bank digital currency, is programmable and can expire. They can tell you. They can tell you what you can and can't buy when you can and can't buy. You don't spend all your money. 2 weeks later, the money expires, so there will be no more savings. These are all
Okay.
possibilities.
These are all the fears of
yes.
a digital currency.
Yes,
Okay.
because right now the money is digital, right? But there's
Right.
still dollars floating around out there. People
Okay.
still have money in various places, and the Federal Reserve doesn't necessarily have direct control over it. So the government, through the Federal Reserve, can't just shut off. They just can't take your money away necessarily because it doesn't belong to them. It belongs to a bank. So it belongs to somebody, right? It's not really your money when you give it to the bank. It's the bank's money. They just keep the ledger going, so on and so forth. So, but what this is going to do is all transactions will be run through the FedNow Federal Reserve System, which is an
Okay.
instantaneous transfer of monies, which, to my understanding at this point, the only way to do that is essentially to be running some kind of digital currency, like that akin to a cryptocurrency, right?
On a blockchain or something like that.
Something like that. But this is not going to be that. This is just going to be
Right.
run through their program. So
Government blockchain.
yeah, so they say the Federal Reserve announced July launch for FedNow service. The Federal Reserve announced that the FedNow service will start opening in July and provide details on preparation for launch. The first week of April, the Federal Reserve will begin the formal certification of participants for the launch of the service. Early adopters will become a customer testing and certification program informed by feedback by the FedNow pilot program to prepare for sending live transactions through the system. Certification encompasses a comprehensive testing curriculum with defined expectations for operational readiness and network expansion, blah, blah, blah. In June, the Federal Reserve and certified participants will conduct a production validation activates to confirm readiness for the July launch. So as of April, they're already starting to get the first institutions start signing on to this program.
So that people can be a testing group can be issued like a debit card essentially.
Yeah.
To be able to use digital currency.
Yeah.
And it will be accepted at different, if it's major institutions.
It'll still be dollars,
Right.
but it'll all just, the way it's all funneled and controlled at that point, it runs directly through this Fed program.
And if the major institutions recognize it, like Visa, Chase, those things.
It'll be the banks themselves.
Right.
JP Morgan Chase, Bank of
Right.
America, Wells Fargo. All those people will be running their financial transactions through this FedNow service. And so, yeah, card companies like Visa, Visa, MasterCard, American Express. I don't know exactly if they're run the exact same way, but I'm pretty sure they are. I mean, their money is somewhere, and it's not going to just be, they have it in accounts somewhere. What are you doing, Cat? What are you doing? You need to leave my cord alone.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think of what I'm talking about is thinking of the route for different companies accepting this as currency, right? Because not everywhere takes like Bitcoin. Some places will. There's some places you can buy shit with Bitcoin, but not everywhere.
Yeah.
You know?
This will still be dollars, though. It's just how those transactions are processed won't necessarily. They'll be turning banks into essentially middlemen.
Okay.
Not like right now. You go to the bank, you put your money in there. There's transactions between banks, right? That's how that more or less works.
Yeah.
Right now, the Federal Reserve just essentially puts the money out there and then creates policy for how that stuff is moved around and interest and so on and so forth. This will essentially make them the main. I don't know how you want like a good analogy here, but they're the station. They're the main train station for all transactions going in and out of all these other major institutions. So all this money is going to pass through the Federal Reserve's
Middleman
program.
for everything.
Yes, and this is the actual FedNow program where institutions can sign up and get their things going. And that their big thing is these are instant payments, instantly actionable transactions.
So the companies have incentive. Hey, that's enough. Honestly.
Come on.
Honestly.
She's laying there and somebody will come. She'll get into their bubble. He's like, get the fuck out of my bubble. I'm laying down here.
So different companies and businesses have incentive to use this because they don't have to wait 3 days to get your money. If
Yeah.
you're going to buy stuff, then they can have it that day.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's other.
Especially a small business.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, it'll be the bank that you bank with as a small business. Most small businesses use very large banks because
Right.
they
'cause
got
it's
a
all
lot of
dollars
programs
anyway.
and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But yeah, this is all still dollars.
Yeah.
But-
it's hanging me up. But
Yeah.
I understand. I'm here. It's a weird deal.
It is a weird deal. This is not necessarily the creation of the central bank digital currency, but it's creating the platform for that to become a thing.
Okay.
I think later down the road, we'll actually be looking at a more cashless society.
This is the precursor to the
Yeah,
full-on
you have to
digital
have
currency as
you have to have a platform for this stuff to take place
Right.
before you introduce this kind of stuff. And you know, right now, I mean, you can buy these certain stable coins and shit like that. They're like USD coin and shit like that, which are just crypto versions of a dollar.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know how all that stuff's going to shake out.
So this way
but-
you're saying this is their version of blockchain. This is their platform for processing all of that
yeah,
shit.
except for the fact that
Okay.
instead of actually being a secure blockchain, it's all just going to be a Federal Reserve program
Collected
that-
by the government.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, they're
also
technically a
know-
private company,
they
right?
also know how you spend all your money.
Yes, and this will make it so that if there are certain transactions that are not allowed for whatever reason,
Right.
they
Like
will
guns.
instantly be able to deny you this transaction as you go to pay for it.
Like guns, because there are already some credit card companies that are like flagging those types of transactions if you try and purchase a gun somewhere.
Yep.
Another reason that I was saying I had saved up for this pistol because I wanted specifically to buy it in cash. I didn't want to buy
Cash money.
it on a card anymore. I wanted to buy guns in cash from now on. So that's part of why I did it that way.
So basically, you're just like a criminal now. Look at
Yes.
that. You're spending money in cash.
Handgun in cash from a small gun store.
Yeah, and watching what has happened over the past decade to countries in Europe, a lot of them have moved to a cashless society at this point, which is just
Everything
a
on the
various
phone.
way.
Doo-doo-doo.
Phone, card,
Yeah.
most places don't even have cards anymore. They're
Right.
it's fucking QR code or whatever on your phone. You just bloop bloop done. Various ways people are looking at doing handprints now and all sorts of stuff, but
I've seen that.
it's all
Chips,
just biometric type
thumbprints.
stuff. Yeah, anything to
dark.
prove, it's essentially just another version of your PIN.
You shouldn't be doing that.
No, you shouldn't be doing that at all.
Mm.
But then again, we've screwed up our monetary system so systematically at this point. It's going to be rough. This is all going to be rough. And I think this is all just laying the groundwork for trying to prevent a total and utter collapse as we go forward. And the only way they can do that is to centrally control everything. But we'll get deeper into the weeds on that in part 3 when we start talking about the petrodollar and
Shouldn't be doing this, guys.
yeah, it's all bad news. So
Yeah. Should try and trade with people whenever you can.
yeah.
Bartering is cool.
Bartering's dope. I like
Yeah.
that. Where do you think that boat out front came from?
Yeah.
You think homie paid cash for that? No. He traded his services for an X amount of time for that boat.
Bartering is cool.
Bartering's dope.
Learn how to do a thing. Do that thing for people.
Yep. And
Get
I
stuff
think,
for it.
get skills.
Yeah.
Gain skills. Think of yourself as an RPG character. You know, you have a limitless potential of skills that you can acquire. Start leveling up some of those skills, baby. That's where I'm at. Listening to too many of those video game people lately. Everything I see now is just in video game.
We're teaching people to read.
Read would be good.
Yeah.
That's
Teaching people to read, that's a good skill.
massive declines in reading levels these days.
I think I was like, weak.
Super weak.
I think I was like 15 or something like that the first time that I considered that there were people who couldn't read, you know? I just didn't I just took it as
It's a weird concept,
thing that
right?
everyone does.
Yeah.
So I don't remember in school somehow. But yeah, like people being illiterate, and I was like, what do you mean? And they're like they can't read or write. And I was like,
What do you mean?
what do you mean? Because I just had a difficult time. How do you conduct daily life not knowing how to read or write? Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand that because I read so much shit every day. How do you not?
Yeah.
You know?
You read things without even thinking about
You
it. Like,
just, yeah.
you know, every time I look up at Spider-Man, I read amazing fantasy. I read reserved parking and Seattle Seahawks fans only.
Right. So some
know?
stuff you just end up knowing what it says. Like you can't actually read. You just know what those things say. You know what a stop sign says, but
Yeah.
you can't read it. You know, like
Yeah, can't comprehend the what is it, like phonics or whatever, the vernacular.
Right.
You can't break down the word and understand what it means by looking at the individual letters.
yeah, it made me super sad.
Yeah, and there's like a not small number of people in America today that are still illiterate, which is a weird thing to think about.
Yeah.
So it's tough. It's a
Especially
tough
because when
thing.
you're a child, like if your parents or whoever is taking care of you knows how to read, it's just a lack of investment of time. You know, because it's just time. You just need exposure to letters and reading and stuff to learn how to do that. That's just like most of the time. That's just how it works. You know,
Yeah.
so
because your brain's like a sponge when you're a
Yeah.
kid, so you just pick up the right type of things.
it's just a lack of investment of time, which is a very sad thing.
Yeah.
Used to volunteer at a food pantry. The number of people in this country who can't read or write would freak you out if you really knew. Yeah,
That's fucking
that's
wild, man. Hey, no child left behind, baby.
Yeah, that's right. I dealt with a lot of homeless, and a majority of them couldn't read or write, and I had to do paperwork for them, which is fucking wild.
Dude. Yeah, you think about like the societal standards more or less that we've set up, especially moving forward, like that rely on pieces of technology and shit like that, like the FedNow thing. I mean, you're going to have some kind of app on a phone, I would imagine, in the near future. In the not so, distant future, in maybe a few years, all transactions will have to be done like on a smartphone or something like that.
Yeah.
Because we'll be moving away from cash. What happens to people that don't have those? What if
Right.
you wanted to go back to a clamshell phone or something like that, or
Get
you
your
know,
Obama phone.
get your Obama phone?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
the
how they'll
Obama
do it.
phone. But
That would be great.
how do you even do that if you can't read?
When the federal government starts giving people cell phones, because that's how you're like a pit boy, you know, because that's what
pit
it's going
boy.
to end up being. Is everyone's just going to have a
pit
pit boy or
boy.
something wild? Yeah. Just
Can we do like a
whole-
giant steampunk bracelet
It's-
for it? You know,
I think it'll look more like, because of how edgy and technological and cool we are, it's going to look like, you know, in football, the quarterbacks wear that little arm cuff
Yeah.
with all the plays on it. It's going to look like that. It's just going to be a little thing you just slide on, a
Yeah.
little sleeve. We're going to make them. That's how it's going to be. We're
Let's
going to get
go,
the contract,
yeah.
and we're going to make them with some type of new bio mesh material that we cut
Yeah.
out with like a laser wheel.
Let's
And
do
that's
it.
how we're gonna
Laser
end up-
wheel.
Yeah. And it's just going to be a sleeve that everyone wears, but it's going to Bill Gates style microchip into your skin so you can't take it off once you put it on. We got another book going. Let's do this.
Let's
go. So
I love this. Joseph says, will the bolivar equal $1 or $2? So the bolivar is the Venezuelan currency.
Okay.
And so that's like wheelbarrows full of
Right.
cash to go buy a loaf of bread. And so will a bolivar be worth $1 or $2? You know, we'll just wait until the crisis hits, and that's when they're going to trigger this thing.
right, that's how
That's
they'll
really
do
what
it.
it's
They'll
gonna
say
go.
you can either use your phone or you can carry around a wheelbarrow full of cash. What do you really want to do?
Yes.
This is where we're at now. So.
Yeah, and that's the big talk right now is in implementation. All you got to really do is wait for that emergency to come and say, hey, don't worry about it. If you want access to your money, all of your deposits will be guaranteed. You just need to download this app,
Right.
and then you'll have instant access to all of your money.
You can transact however you want.
That's right. Because the ledgers of all the banks will just go directly into the FedNow system, and then the Federal Reserve will be the bank.
Fuck these people.
And then all the other banks will just become middlemen that make money and interest and screw everybody else over in the process. So that'll be something to look forward to.
Yeah.
And again, I won't even be 40 by the time it hits, probably.
Kulaks.
We'll be the kulaks.
They will.
Yeah, they will.
Bankers.
Yeah, you can't be a kulak, man. You know, if you don't look like you're starving, you must be stealing food. So you're a kulak, and you have to go to Siberia. What's our version of Siberia? Canada? Just send them up to Canada. They got so many laws up there at this point now that you're going to end up in jail at some point.
We're gonna.
So we'll just
we're-
deport you to Canada, and then they'll end up in the Canadian jail
We're
system.
going to be in a war with China, and they're going to have to be digging cobalt out of a mine in was Idaho. There's the cobalt,
Idaho
yeah.
or Utah, or there's like
There you
one or
go.
two places in the country you can do that.
That's where they're going to be doing it. They're going to be cobalt mining.
There
in
you go.
Idaho.
Yeah,
If
that's
you're-
that's gonna suck in the wintertime.
It's going to be really cold.
Yeah, it's gonna be
It's
real
gonna
cold.
Really, really cold there.
It'll be
And
like
very red and cobalty, and it's going to be unfortunate.
it's gonna be super unfortunate. Like in the Siberian concentration camps or the gulags, it was always cold, right?
Yeah.
But we're going to have 2 seasons because of where these cobalt mines are going to be at. So you're going to get scorchingly destroyed. You're going to get roasted in the summertime,
Yeah.
and then you're going to get frozen in the wintertime. So you can't even adapt to a single temperature to try to survive. You're just going to be fucked.
And that's how they're going to keep flowing people there, is because there's going to be just
It's
constant
just, rollover.
turnover.
You know, it'll be good, and then we'll use you to fertilize the trees so that we can cut down on carbon.
That's why they started all these human composting laws, is
Let's
so that
go.
we can be used to it. You know,
And also, I'm kind of okay with being
human
thrown into.
compost.
I'm kind of okay being thrown in underneath a tree or something like
What
that
else
to
you do with
nourish
it?
the shit.
what else do you do with the human body?
I mean, stick it in a designated piece of land with a bunch of other dead bodies with a rock over you. I don't get that aspect of things, man.
We drove past a cemetery in Portland that was legit like a mile long.
Oh, yeah?
it was insane.
And then what happens?
Why?
People
what?
aren't going to stop dying.
No, it just filled up, and then what?
Yeah. And then how long does it take for you to break down? Well,
Shouldn't be doing that.
yeah, we shouldn't be doing that. No, just
Shouldn't be doing that.
I'm glad at this point I spent a lot of time on the ocean, so I'm like, no, just dump me out there. Just dump me out there, bro.
Let me blow it up and sink, and we'll be good to
It'll
go.
be fine. You know,
yeah.
if you need to make me a pair of concrete galoshes to make it all go down, do that.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
That's
you
what
know, make sure it's deep though. That way, all
Out there.
the pressure will. I don't want to float up and then cause nobody else problems.
Right.
I've been there, done that. That's
Let
not a
the
fun
fish-
experience. Yeah,
Let the fish eat me up, you know?
yeah. I want to be eaten by the crabs.
Yeah.
The crabs and the shrimp that you will later on eat.
Turn my skeleton into a reef. You know? Let little fish live in my skull as I'm attached down there.
Yeah, you'll have to get the Wolverine treatment, turn all your bones to metal
That would be
before that. That way you can branch out. That'd be pretty cool, though.
Yeah.
I am the heart of the reef.
Yeah.
Look at all these fishes living inside of me. Well, that took a turn. I love how this goes. Let's see. Do we want to hit anything else in part 1?
Homelessness is really bad.
Oh, yeah,
Let's
you
just
sent me
talk
that
about
fucking
We
podcast.
can just kind of talk about it in generalities, because I don't have the numbers down to like go through it or anything. It's really bad, and the
Super
baseline,
bad.
because there was a lot of reporting on it over the last 2 weeks, which is really interesting. There's
Yeah.
a lot of it's in Seattle in particular, a lot of bureaucracy that seems to gum up the works. Everybody needs to have their hand in something. Everything needs a permit. One of the examples they gave in this podcast you were talking about that I sent you, it's called Seattle Now. It's a local one. It's done through KUOW, which is our local NPR affiliate. And
The state affiliated media?
yeah, that's right. And they were talking about the street sinks that
Street sinks.
Yeah, that they wanted to build, that the city council wanted to build, and so there was a contract for 100 street sinks, and I think they had built 3 of them. And part of the reason is because every single individual street sink location had to have its own permit. Every single one of them. There couldn't be a blanket permit, even though the Seattle City Council is the one who did this. There was also another one for tiny houses that an individual city council member had pledged $2.5 million for it, and then quietly retracted the pledge for the money that he put in, and was still championing all these individual houses that are built, even though he had nothing to do with it at all.
Nope. That's the nature of bureaucracy, because every agency or office in the bureaucracy wants to assert their dominance and their, this is our territory. We handle this stuff.
Right.
And we're backed up for 18 months right now. We're looking at permits and this and that, approvals. And, the next committee meeting isn't for another 30 days. So we're not going to get to this for, probably 2.5 years at this point. And then, and then what about the public inquiry periods and blah, 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 blah. This is just standardized. Anytime you want to build anything within some kind of municipality where there's a bureaucracy, which is everywhere, just how many levels you have to do. And in the city of Seattle, there's an infinite number of layers of bureaucracy to get through. And so it's so bad, they can't even get their own proposals that the city council wants, champions, and approves. They can't even get those done because the bureaucracy is so tied up and so twisted, which is no surprise. But the concept of public sinks, because this was the first time I ever heard about this when I listened to that.
Sink?
The street sink. What are your thoughts on the validity of a street sink?
It's going to be disgusting.
It's definitely going to be
That's
disgusting.
Cool. It's going to be disgusting. It's going to be absolutely horrific. I think that's fine. It makes sense, I know. And because they said at the very minimum, it really is to just get more access to public water. And I think that's fine. People walking along, filling up their water bottles and shit like that. I think that's great that people can just get water.
Yeah. And if you're homeless, living out on the street, where do you get water from?
I think water bill's crazy anyway. So I mean, someone built a structure somewhere. That person happens to own the rights to the water. That's how we've decided that things are going to be done. That's fucking insane. That's insane. So now I pay this company because they happen to build a structure there.
Can I start a water company?
I
don't think so.
That's retarded. That doesn't make any sense to me. This is just a thing that we're still doing, and we don't know how to do it any other way. So that's how we don't choose to do it any other way. So this is how we do it. So no, I think free water for people on the street is a fine idea.
Yeah.
But
it reminded me of ancient Rome. They had public fountains everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And people would go collect their water for the day that way, or if you were one of the people that actually had running water in your house in ancient Rome, which a lot of people did, you could do that. But there was a lot of people that were homeless living on the street in the city of Rome. And one of the ways they kind of got around the sanitation problems was, you had these, because they had aqueducts everywhere running water. So you had water pressure, this and that. So they'd build public fountains for people, and then they'd use that for their bathing water, for drinking water, all that stuff. It kind of reminded me of a really messed up futuristic version of that. But unfortunately, we don't have the deference as a society to make sure these things stay clean.
No.
And so they're going to be fucking disgusting.
No, in a city especially as big and as leftist and disgusting as Seattle only knows how to do things in a bureaucratic fashion. So they don't know by design how to do anything any other way other than to make it take an insanely long amount of time. And they've designed it with red tape and with all these barriers.
Yeah, I like this.
Intentionally. I bet 3M wishes they could get their hands on the tech that made that red tape. It can literally hold up the world.
That's right. Figuratively and literally.
So I think it's cool, the public sink thing, but
There's no way it's going to get done.
It's going to be horrific. I've told you a bunch of times and a million other people about when we were there the last time to go to the aquarium, and the surveyors were saying that their company had paid for a porta potty we put down there, and they had to chain it up because it had been made so disgusting by the homeless that lived around it that the workers couldn't even use the porta potty that their company had paid for. When we were in Oregon, third reference, did it. I didn't mean to, but this is how we're doing it because it's just
you're a 3-timer.
Well, it's what we did last weekend. So The homeless problem there was that it was horrific. It was the worst I've seen in quite some time. I mean,
Yeah.
quite literally every place that had enough room for a tent or a structure, there was a tent or structure. There were multiple different structures, multiple different tents, living areas that had like large bookcases and cabinets made of plastic that you would have in a garage. So they had dry storage outside of these tents and stuff. I mean, it was wild. And it just is, I mean, next to the freeway, right next to the freeway, right? All, you know, all these overpasses and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just right in between two pieces of the freeway. People just sleeping. It's crazy.
That's fucking nuts, man.
It's really crazy. And
Besides, road noise gives you dementia. So that's bad for them.
legit like Gotham City. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how it felt. Is we're driving through, and I said, "This is like Gotham City." It's so dirty and disgusting, and also filled with money and art and people doing everyday things there.
Yeah.
Right along all of the horror. It was really very interesting to see. When I was down there, and I told you, it's like, I get it. Like, why I'm sitting in the bar, I get it. I get why people live here. This is fun. It's entertaining.
Cool
it's
vibe.
Cool.
It's yeah.
It's like, but I mean, you just walk around a little bit or drive around. You're like, this is horrific. I mean, this is absolutely horrific to look at this, to see that people are living beside you while you're having fun, seeing the beauty of the city, looking at all of this, all the graffiti that's up there, that all is very cool. That gives the city a whole very artistic vibe. And while we're doing that, enjoying it, there are people who are fucking living in a tent right next to it.
Yeah.
How can you enjoy this every day when this is the duality of what you're looking at, you know?
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah. Talk about like, you know, high tier, low tier class right there. I mean,
That's terrible.
That's rough stuff. Did you notice a marketable difference as you crossed from like the Southern Washington line into Oregon? Or did it take a while for like, because Portland and Vancouver are like right together,
Vancouver, Battleground.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And in Battleground in Vancouver, there's, you know, a bunch of Joe Kent signs. There's a bunch
Oh,
of,
yeah.
fucking
That's
all
right.
that. Yeah, it's very conservative. And then
you cross the
directly
water.
into Portland. And it's boom. We're like, whoa.
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, even in Oregon, if you go to like Eugene and Junction City are two towns right next to each other. In Junction City, sleeping outside is illegal. So there's no homelessness in Junction City. In Eugene, it's horrific because it's not illegal to sleep outside in Eugene. So all of the people who once lived outside in Junction City now live outside in Eugene. And I experienced that the last time I went to visit my aunt, that I was like, so homelessness is real bad here, huh? And she said, yeah, they just recently like illegalized sleeping outside in Junction City. And so now everybody is here. And that's just how it happens. They just
Well, yeah,
migrate.
because you can, you know, an individual city can make you can essentially make homelessness, the visible display of homelessness, illegal.
Yes.
Right. But that doesn't stop somebody from being homeless. It just forces them somewhere else.
Right. And
Which
that's
it's
precisely
like
what
that
happened
South
there.
Park episode where they force all the homeless people out of California out of forget where it was, but they had that big migration of homelessness come into
yes.
Colorado.
Yeah.
And then they were like, everybody go to California because they're nice to the homeless over there.
Right.
But yeah, you don't fix the problem essentially by making it illegal. You move people most times. That's like the failure of the generally conservative argument is like you have to make public camping illegal on the streets. That way you can remove these people.
Precisely.
Okay, cool. But where are they going to go? They're going to go someplace where it's not illegal. You're just
Right.
pushing the problem somewhere else for somebody else to handle, which there's no handling it. I think if we've learned one thing about homelessness in this day and age, you're not fixing anything. You're
No.
just, I mean, you might be giving a small fraction of people a alternative to living on the street. But I mean, we're talking in probably the decimals of a percent of people as far as the overall number goes.
Yeah.
And it's
in
just
Seattle,
not good.
There's too many people living on the streets to make it illegal to sleep on the streets.
Yeah.
So all they can do is just incentivize people and try and get people to go to shelters, but there's 90 million different reasons that people don't want to go into shelters, some good, some bad. You know,
Every
neither
shelter
here
has
nor
different
there.
rules.
All different rules, yeah.
Yeah.
Some places you have to be clean. Some places you can do whatever you want. Some places you can't have a dog, or like you have to be by yourself, or no children, or you have to be a woman, or there's all kinds of different rules like that. And so it complicates It complicates things, but not
Yeah.
to the point that the issue cannot be solved because they're by design choosing to not solve this problem. They choose to make it worse.
And there's, I don't
And
know if I have
instead,
it
because the
saved.
red tape that Joseph has talked about, that 3M is desperately seeking the designs for.
I need that patent, baby.
Yeah, because that exists. It takes years for anything to be done. And the people who live in the city then suffer instead because they're the ones whose property is destroyed and who have no other recourse but to call the police and trespass people who don't give a shit about the laws anyway because they're sleeping outside. And what's the difference? What's one more ticket when you already don't have any money?
Yeah.
So-
There's I think it's this guy, Jonathan Cho. There's been a
Yeah.
marked push lately to start cleaning up some of these camps
Yeah.
in Seattle. Mixed, obviously, with mixed reception.
Right.
But apparently they've been going down, closing down a lot of these makeshift shelters, causing a lot of people to get really
The
pissed off.
encampments.
But again,
Dow Constantine.
yeah, you clean some of these things up, but where do these people go? They go somewhere.
They just disperse throughout the city.
Yeah.
And then they're upset, they're
Yeah.
they're mad because they don't have a place that they were staying anymore. Their not home no longer exists.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
a lot
this-
of times they're aggressive. They're upset, so they're just walking around. And if they receive some type of negative reaction or disdain, they could fuck somebody up, get upset, have a negative interaction with somebody.
Yeah.
That type of shit happens all the time. Even
Yeah.
people who don't have mental illness but are just on drugs do shit that is bad, you know? Because
mean,
there's
it's-
a whole deal people upset about. Not everyone who living on the street is mentally ill, and not everyone with mental illness is violent. And I don't. No one's saying that. People hurt people. People who are upset about shit hurt other people. I mean, these things happen. Human
Yeah.
beings hurt other human beings, and if they have other exigent circumstances that are making their life harder, they're more likely statistically to hurt somebody. And no one deserves that.
That's the way it goes.
Especially when they're just trying to run a business or fucking live in a city like an
Yeah.
idiot.
I mean, you could see this too. I mean, the two major, this Lumen Field, which is where the Seahawks play, and then
Yes.
it's not Safeco Field anymore, but it's where the Mariners play.
It's T-Mobile Park.
T-Mobile Park now. I mean, the encampment was this particular one he's talking about was just 2 blocks away from it.
Yeah. And it's all right downtown. Like when
It's
you
all
get off the
downtown.
ferry and you're in downtown, you're right in the heart of it. And when
Yeah.
you go up to, what is it like, it's not Lakewood. That's all that I can think of now, though. Where like P.F. Chang's and all of their shopping.
Oh,
is.
yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
When
the
you-
big commercial
that's-
area.
Yes, that's where the worst of it is, and that
Yeah.
huge square right there.
Yeah.
Where all the games and the fun touristy things are
Yes.
supposed to be, is where people are just sleeping in the middle of the day, absolutely fucking zonked on heroin.
Yep.
That's where those things are happening.
Heroin and fentanyl, baby. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. And they continue to just throw money at these problems or promise money and then quietly take their money back because
Yeah.
these things aren't happening.
Take the money back from Ukraine and build a motel-style housing unit 6 stories high, unbroken the entire length of the southern border. No birds anywhere. 2 birds, anyone?
I like
Yeah.
it. I like
Yeah,
it.
which is an interesting point because during COVID, there were tons of cities that bought up or rented out hotels and put people in them, and a bunch of homelessness was dealt with, right? Like a lot of the problem was dealt with. And
Gets them off the street
was over,
anyways.
and they just kicked them right back out
Bye.
on the street. Like, so you had it. You even like had it figured out for a little bit. So you could have done something else, and instead you're like, it's done now.
Done.
Bye.
We fixed it. Nope.
This is government at work, not your government, not this government. That's how government works. That is how
Just government.
That is how it will go every time.
Yeah, I feel like that. It's a good argument for keeping government around, right?
Yeah.
They're so bad at everything they do. What else do we have to lose? Fuck
You
it.
can suffer from their choices forever.
Just like everybody else. That's the most, that's the perfect path to equity. Everybody suffers the tyranny of the government equally.
That's right.
Boom, baby. Then on that note, unless you have anything else, good sir, we'll
No.
wrap up this segment.
Yeah, with that, we will call this segment 1 of episode 145 to an end. My name is Donovan.
I'm Colin.
Thank everyone again for being here at the segment. The sponsor for part 1 was Lexi Kyle. We watched the ad already. We did the things. I want to remind you guys again to follow us, like, subscribe, share this with everybody, comment, do all the things. You can find us individually at Salt of the Street on Twitter and at alpaca_Donovan on Instagram. And Colin is at Big Bird Offie on both of those things. We also have everything, the Instagram, the YouTube, everything at Salt of the Street. You can find all of it at saltofthestreets.com. We will be back in just a few minutes for part 2. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Welcome to the Salt